Oh, sorry, class. Anyways, how are we doing, class? Today, we have a special lesson. We're going to look at the figure I picked up on our field trip that was a little while back. When we went around Toronto and the wife went through the women's show, and we all know how that went. At any rate, today we're going to have a look at The Walking Dead Zombie Roamer. So he walks around. The other one, which I guess we'll grab and we'll do a little comparison to, was a lurker. So he kind of sits around and waits. This one actively walks around. It's a McFarlane Toys figure. For ages 13 and up, I guess that's because it's a zombie and it's going to freak the little kids out. He's got head-splitting action, some removable body parts. It's Comic Series 1, which is nice. Because I do like the Walking Dead comic. I haven't worked my way all the way through it yet. But I am current on the show at this point anyways. So there he is. And on the back, we can see what else we have here. So also from Comic Book Series 1, we have Officer Rick Grimes. Also comes with revolver and axe. That's awesome. His bag holds 4 guns. I know we spoke about that before. We've got Michonne with a whole bunch of crap that she uses to do really bad things to somebody. But I won't spoil it in case you're starting to read through the comic books. We've got the Zombie Lurker, who we looked at before. And then we've got the Zombie Roamer. Push button to see head split and brains splatter. So I guess he just took a shotgun round to the head. And then what else can we do here? It's another thing that, oh, push down on knife to reset head to original form. Look at all the stupid languages they have on there. This must not just be, well, I don't know. There's English. See some French. I'm guessing that's Espanol. Anyways, so a whole bunch of stuff on there. Some other figures from the wave. So we've got this one. We're reviewing this one now. Probably going to pass on these two. I just don't really care. The Rick looks kind of crappy. I've seen it in stores and I'm not overly impressed. The Michonne doesn't look bad, but I just don't care that much. When it comes to these zombie movies and TV shows and comic books, I don't care about the human characters too much. I'm more interested in the zombies. So, there is a look at our Zombie Roamer in the package. We can see all the zombies in the background. It looks like the street there. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. We're going to see what bits come off. Looks like part of his arm does over here. And we'll have a closer look at the Zombie Roamer. Back in a second. Class, I'm back. I'm not going to do any more moaning or groaning this time, I swear. Unless I change my mind, which I am known to do every once in a while. I am somewhat indecisive. At any rate, here is our Zombie Roamer. We can take a quick look at this figure here. And you know what, let's start with the sculpt a little bit. It's kind of what I've come to expect from McFarlane Toys, even though I don't own that many, I'll admit. I think this is my... Well, actually, I had a lot of the Spawn figures when I was younger, but at any rate, the amount of detail on the sculpt is amazing. I mean, we can see the trousers he's wearing. We can see the seam, all the little wrinkles and all the little damage bits. We can see something happened to his leg there. I'm not sure how that foot is really still attached, to be honest with you, but we can see he got the sneaker. Even put the details in there. Very nice. And on the other leg, again, we can see some of the damage he's taken. The leg itself, we've got some muscle in there, some damage. Even he's got toes. How well we can see those. There we go. With toenails. Put a lot of work into that in his chest. I mean, just the fact that this top we could probably nearly take off if we wanted to. We can see they've added extra detail. They didn't really need, like, all this exposed ribs and guts and stuff. You know what? You would never really see that unless you made a point of looking. So it's nice that they have all that extra little detail. The fact that this is a separate piece. The rags here, it's a separate piece on its own as well, which is kind of nice. And again, we can see the damage to the arms and how withered they are. And his head does look pretty good. Now, I've got this elastic band on here, which I guess I'll take off for now. It was like that in the package. Whoops, but we can see his head. Again, we can see his teeth in there. His nose looks like it's been busted. His one eye is drooping a little bit more. We've got the creases in his brow, his hair. It's very, very excellent. Whoops. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, the coloring, you know what? I've heard some people complain about the coloring before. It's very muted. It's not particularly lively, but I think that's the point. I think gone are the days where zombies are going to be seen in bright primary colors. I mean, we saw it, well, to a certain degree in the original Dawn of the Dead, But you gotta figure, if this thing has been wandering around dead eating people for a few months, it's gonna start looking pretty grungy and crappy looking. And I think that's the whole point. Zombies aren't really meant to have bright colors anymore. They're all kind of the muted tones and the gray and the mottled kind of coloring to them. So I think that's good. I mean, it looks to me like what I would expect a zombie to be, which is excellent. Now, in terms of the articulation, again, I think this is kind of the standard for the McFarlane toys. They look really good. Articulation, posability, not so much. The head, no movement at all. The shoulder can rotate, and it can move up and down, which again, you can see the joint in there and how it's ridged. And that really actually, I find, takes away from the look a little bit, just because it's so plainly obvious. There's no rotation in the arm, and we do bend at the elbow, and then no more rotation even at the hand, at the wrist. Same thing with this side. We can bend that elbow a little bit. His waist, it does rotate. I'm sure it'll go all the way around if we make it, which there's really no point. Now, his legs, they do move, but they're on those kind of hip joints that we used to see a long time ago, or on Barbie dolls or something like that, where they just kind of twist around like that. Not very good. You're not going to be able to do much. His knees do bend, and there's really no movement at the feet. So really what you need to do is just kind of get him in the kind of the pose where all the bits on the mold line up, and then just kind of stand him there, because he's really not going to do much of anything else. There, close enough. Now, in terms of some of the features, one of the things was, you know, bits come off, so we can pull off his arm here, and we can pull off the other arm up there, and now he's got no arms coming at you. And actually, he's much less dangerous now. A zombie with no hands, while it's still dangerous because he can still bite you, is much less dangerous because he can't grab onto you, you see. So we're not as worried anymore. Now, one of the people I spoke to about the Lurker before had commented to me about how, you know, you're probably going to lose the bits. And I said, no, they fit together pretty well. And this arm does. His right arm, on the other hand, I've already had this piece fall off of him once. So it is a legitimate concern that you might lose the pieces, at least on this one, if you're not careful. Like, it's on there good now, but I have had it just drop off like that. So I don't know. I'd watch out for that one if you're going to buy it. Now, his other feature, and we saw on the package, his head goes a splody. I've put this rubber band, actually this is the way it's packaged. It's packaged with the clear rubber band on his head. And the reason is that the hinges that hold his head together are incredibly loose. But just a demonstration of the gimmick. Here we go. You ready? Blah, blah. And then he'd go like that, because he's dead now. Right. So I guess it's to simulate a headshot, guessing from something relatively high-powered, like a rifle, high-powered rifle or a shotgun, to make the head split like that. And if we look, there's a knife sticking in his back, and we pull that down, puts the brain splatter back in his head, and then we can close him back up. Now, the only thing is, though, is that if we just jostle him a little bit, his head falls apart. That's why they packaged it with the rubber band to hold it all together. I'm thinking, wow, that's super. I'm not one for gimmicks. I never have been. I think I've said that just about every time we've had a figure with a gimmick involved. And, well, it's clever. I'll give them credit for that. It's a clever gimmick. We get to see a zombie head explode, and then it could be falling down. And they even took the time to put details of the brain matter and the skull in there, which is pretty cool. Like, there's no doubt that they put the detail in. I don't know if that's how brains look when they're exploding, by the way. But I don't know. The fact that it's the knife which puts everything back into place is excellent. I think that's a neat touch. But the fact that if there's a strong gust of wind, his head is going to fall apart, I'm not terribly thrilled with that, because I don't always want his head blowing up. Because this is the sort of thing I want to display with my other monsters and stuff, and I don't want him to look like that the whole time, because it means someone just crushed his head. So I probably will actually display him with this thing on him, just to hold his head together, which seems kind of silly. And once you notice it the first time, you'll probably always notice it. It does take away from it a little bit. This is one of those times where, while the gimmick is neat, in my personal opinion, it takes away from the figure a little bit. Just because, for us, I think if you just want to display the guy, you can. Or sorry, you can't without the rubber band. So if you buy this thing and you get that little clear rubber band, keep it. Now the other thing, since we're looking, we've got a big hole in his head already. He comes with this little hand axe. And if you've read the comic book, you'd say, well, shouldn't that be Rick Grimes' axe? Because at one point he has a small axe that he wields with his hand. I don't want to give too much away, being a hand axe. And we can have him holding that. I don't know too many zombies that carry axes. I know one did in Resident Evil, the movie. And I thought the first one was good. The rest of them more or less sucked. Well, the third one was okay. But I don't know too many zombies that do that off the top of my head. But this is what I like to do with this thing. If you take the hole in his head, you can put the axe in there. You can actually see if we can lodge the axe in his head. Whoops, I was able to do it before. I think you're really only going to be able to do this with the rubber band. So if we reset that, put the rubber band on his head, we can then lodge the axe in there too. Now, as funny as that looks, because we all seen, the goofy hats that look like that, if you're a zombie fan or aficionado, you follow zombie lore, you know this wouldn't really happen because putting an axe in a zombie's head should more or less kill it, or put it down, or destroy it, or whatever you want to say. So it's a neat way to hold the axe, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know why they included this thing. I think it's totally unnecessary. And chances are it's going to be lost to the vacuum cleaner. So if we compare him to the other one, we've got them both here. We can see they're both coming at you, which is kind of nice. So they're both on scale with one another. They're not very tall. I forget how big tall I said this one is, but it's around the 3 3/4 inch size figure, which isn't too bad. I know the McFarlane figures at least used to be bigger, but maybe they're going a scale smaller for the Walking Dead. Not too bad. I don't like this figure as much as the other one. And there's one thing that really actually annoys the hell out of me, and I do get annoyed by these kind of things. This is the zombie roamer. Roaming implies walking, moving. His feet are almost side by side. He's not really going anywhere. He's just standing there. The one that's the lurker, and if you lurk, you're standing still, waiting, not moving. He's clearly got one foot in front of the other. He's moving. So the one that's moving is called the one that's standing still, and the one that's standing still implies that it's moving. Bunch of bastards. Learn your goddamn diction. Be more verbose. Pick better words. Like, how about zombie stander? That's no good either. At any rate. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you'll probably like this figure. If you like collecting zombies, you'll probably like this figure. I'm a little bit torn on this one, to be honest with you. Well, it's not bad. The gimmick with the head really is almost a deal breaker for me. If I knew that the head would have such a hard time staying together, I probably wouldn't have bought it. It really, really bothers me that much. I'm not about gimmicks. I just want a cool-looking zombie to stand with my other cool-looking zombie, and the fact that I put this little thing on there to do that annoys me. And the axe is stupid. But, I mean, it does look scary, especially when you got a couple of them, which is kind of nice. So if I were to give this figure a grade, I would give it, a B-. It's better than average because the sculpt looks really good and he does look pretty scary. And the gimmick, while it's clever, I think it does detract from the figure. And I probably wouldn't have bought it if I had known that. But it's not a bad figure, I just don't really like it so much. So yeah, I like this one a whole lot better. If you had to pick one, get this one. I think he's better. At any rate, he will go on display with my other zombies and movie monsters. So I think that's about it. As I said, you can probably find this in your local comic shops. Thank you very much. Class is dismissed. Okay, yeah, I know.